right, so today we're going deep on someone who took kind of an unexpected path to the top of the pharmaceutical world.
Okay.
Emma Walmsley, CEO of GSK.
Wow.
You'd think someone leading a global pharma giant would have, like a background in pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
But Emma's story, well, it's a little different.
Really?
Yeah, she studied classics and modern languages at Oxford.
Classics. Huh.
So how does someone with a background in classics end up leading one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies? That's what we're going to find out today.
That's a good question.
Yeah. How do you think her background in classics could have helped her?
Well, classics is a lot about, diving deep into these complex systems,
Hmm.
analyzing old texts, like really trying to find the meaning in them. And then the big thing is communicating those ideas in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's actually surprising how well those skills translate to, like, the business world,
Yeah.
especially, in a field as complex as pharmaceuticals.
I mean, it's like she was decoding the human experience, right? Through these ancient languages.
Yeah.
And then she took that understanding and applied it to, the science of healing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think about it that way.
But let's back up a bit. Where does her career actually start?
So she starts out at L'Oreal,
Okay.
spends 17 years there, does all sorts of different things in marketing and management.
Okay.
But here's where it gets interesting. She goes to Shanghai
Shanghai.
to run L'Oreal's consumer products business in China,
Oh, wow. So that's a whole other level.
right? Can you imagine taking a global brand and trying to, like, figure out what works in a completely different market?
Yeah, I mean, that must have been a huge learning curve.
Definitely.
But it probably taught her a lot about, global leadership
Absolutely.
and how to adapt to different cultures.
Yeah, and how to manage diverse teams.
So all of that, I bet that was super valuable for her later on at GSK.
For sure, those experiences really shaped her global perspective and her leadership style.
Okay, so she's got this amazing experience in the global market. But how does she go from beauty products to pharmaceuticals?
It's a big jump, right?
Yeah.
Well, in 2010, she moves to GlaxoSmithKline,
Okay.
starts out heading their European consumer healthcare division,
Oh,
and get this, she doubles their sales.
bubbles.
Doubles them.
Wow, she must really impress the folks at GSK.
Absolutely. The board definitely took notice, and before long, she's running global consumer healthcare for the whole company.
I mean, doubling sales, that's not just impressive. That's like, that's a sign that she knows what she's doing.
Totally.
It makes you wonder how she did it.
Right.
But I guess the results speak for themselves.
They do.
And I bet that's ultimately what led to her, becoming the CEO.
Yep. In 2017, she's appointed CEO of GSK.
Wow.
Makes history as the first woman to lead a major pharmaceutical company.
That's incredible.
It was a huge moment, not just for GSK, but for the whole industry.
So she steps into this role, leading a company like GSK. I can only imagine the pressure, especially since GSK was facing some challenges.
Oh, yeah, she walked into some pretty serious headwinds.
Like what?
Well, they were struggling to keep up with innovation. Key patents were about to expire,
Oh, that's not good.
and their presence in the oncology market, which is like a huge area, was weak.
Yeah.
It was a tough situation.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, she had her work cut out for her.
So she takes on this CEO role.
Uh-huh.
Company's facing all these challenges. Did she play it safe, or did she take big swings?
Oh, she wasn't afraid to make big changes.
Okay, like what?
Well, she completely restructured their R&D department,
Okay.
got rid of some businesses that weren't really core to what they were doing,
Yeah.
and made some strategic acquisitions too.
Like what?
Well, one of the biggest ones was Tesaro, a company they bought for $5.1 billion.
Whoa! $5.1 billion for Tesaro.
Yeah.
What was so special about them?
Well, at the time, the oncology market was getting really competitive, new therapies coming out all the time, and Tesaro had this promising drug for ovarian cancer. It was a PARP inhibitor,
Okay.
and that was a key area where GSK needed to, step up their game.
So buying Tesaro was a way for GSK to, really get into the oncology market.
Exactly. It was a bold move, but it showed that she was serious about making GSK a major player in that space.
So she's reshaping the company, making these big moves.
Yeah.
But I imagine leading a global pharmaceutical company, it's not just about internal stuff, right?
No, there's a whole world of external pressures, too.
What kind of stuff?
Well, you've got activist investors who are always pushing for change.
Hmm.
You've got legal battles like the whole Zantac thing.
Oh, right.
And then, of course, you have the pandemic.
Oh, man. Yeah, leading a global pharmaceutical company through a pandemic, that must have been intense.
It was a wild time, for sure.
So how did she handle all of that? I mean, on top of everything else she was doing.
That's really where her leadership style stands out. Even with all that pressure, she was committed to transparency and doing things the right way,
Okay.
especially when it came to GSK's stance on responsible pricing for medications
Right.
and making sure everyone has access to healthcare no matter where they are.
It sounds like she's got a really strong moral compass,
Yeah, she does.
trying to balance, running a successful business with doing what's right for people.
It's a tough balance, but she's committed to it.
And it's not easy, especially
Yeah.
in the pharmaceutical industry.
Nope.
But even with all these challenges, there's one thing that really stands out as a triumph:
What's that?
the RSV vaccine.
Ah, yes. The RSV vaccine.
Tell me about that.
It's a great story. She really championed this vaccine from the beginning, overcame so many obstacles, beat out the competition to bring this much-needed vaccine to market.
Wow.
It was a huge victory for GSK, but also for public health. It shows how dedicated she is to innovation, especially in preventative healthcare.
Wait, the RSV vaccine, the one that's been in the news lately because
Yeah.
it's so effective?
That's the one.
She was behind that?
Yep. And it's not just a scientific breakthrough. It's also going to be a big deal financially.
I bet.
It could bring in billions of dollars.
Right.
It really cements GSK's leadership in the vaccine space.
So, from classic scholar to pharmaceutical CEO, leading the charge on groundbreaking vaccines.
It's quite a journey.
It really is. She's a force to be reckoned with.
For sure.
But what about her leadership style? What makes her tick?
Well, from what people say, she's very personable,
Okay.
but she also has high expectations.
Makes sense.
She's known for nurturing talent, and creating a really positive, collaborative culture at GSK.
Which I imagine is quite a change from how things were before.
Oh, yeah. GSK used to be very hierarchical.
Yeah.
So this was a big shift.
But changing the culture of a huge organization like GSK,
Oh, yeah.
that can't be easy.
Not at all.
What were some of the challenges she faced?
Well, GSK had this reputation for being very top-down,
Yeah.
Decision-making was centralized.
Yeah.
Not a lot of room for people to come up with ideas from, different levels. And Emma realized that to really get innovation going, you need a culture where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas.
Right, like everyone's voice matters.
Exactly, and everyone feels empowered to contribute.
But changing the mindset of a whole organization, especially one as big as GSK,
Yeah, that's a huge undertaking.
how did she actually make those changes happen?
It wasn't just about talking about it. She actually restructured things,
Okay.
created these cross-functional teams,
Yeah.
and gave those teams the power to make decisions.
So she was putting her money where her mouth was.
Exactly. She wasn't just saying, oh, we need to be more collaborative. She was actually creating the structure to support it.
And she also changed the leadership team, right?
Yes. Remember we talked about how she replaced a lot of the top management in her first few years as CEO?
Yeah, bringing in people who aligned with her vision.
It was a bold move, but it shows how committed she was to building a new culture.
So she wasn't afraid to make tough decisions,
Not at all.
even if they were unpopular.
If she thought it was best for the company, she did it.
And it seems like it's working. I mean, the RSV vaccine is a perfect example.
It is.
It wasn't just a scientific win, it was a win for the new way of working at GSK.
Definitely, it shows how a more collaborative and agile approach can lead to big results.
So we've seen her reshape the company, navigate a pandemic, make these huge industry shifts.
It's pretty amazing.
What do you think is the most surprising thing about her story so far?
I think it's just how much she's done
Yeah.
and how she's been able to connect all these different experiences.
Mhm.
Classics, consumer goods, China, now leading a global pharmaceutical company.
Right.
It really defies expectations.
It does. It's a story about breaking boundaries and, achieving incredible things.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder what she'll do next.
Yeah. What's next for Emma Walmsley?
Well, that's a question for part 2.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.
I mean, it really makes you wonder if she had followed a more traditional path, would she be as successful?
Yeah, good question. Maybe her unconventional background actually helped her.
Yeah, maybe it let her see things differently, like challenge how things were usually done and bring in these fresh new ideas.
Right. Like her background was almost like a secret weapon.
Yeah.
And make her think critically and adapt to different environments and cultures.
Uh-huh.
And she had to take information from all these different areas and put it all together.
Yeah, those are really valuable skills for any leader.
Especially in a field like pharmaceuticals, it changes so quickly.
Exactly.
So she takes the analytical skills of a classic scholar
Right.
and combines it with all this real-world experience in global business.
Yeah, and then she brings all of that to this huge pharmaceutical company.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. It's a powerful combination.
We talk about how she created this more collaborative culture at GSK, which is a big deal. Given their history, what were some of the biggest challenges she faced with that?
Remember, GSK had a reputation for being very hierarchical.
Yeah.
Decisions were made at the top.
Mm.
Not a lot of room for innovation from, the bottom up.
Right.
Emma saw that to really get innovation going, you need everyone to feel like they can share their ideas
Yeah.
and that their voices are heard.
I mean, it's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Exactly.
But changing the way a whole company thinks, especially one as big as GSK.
It's a massive challenge.
So how did she actually do it?
It wasn't just talk. She made real changes to the way things were structured.
Like what?
Well, she created these cross-functional teams, people from different departments working together.
Okay.
And she gave those teams the power to make decisions. They had real ownership over their projects.
So she walked the walk.
Exactly. She created a system that supported the culture she wanted.
And remember how she replaced a lot of the top management?
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
Bringing in people who shared her vision.
It was a tough decision, but it showed how serious she was about this new direction.
It's amazing how she was willing to do that, to really shake things up.
Yeah, it shows a lot of decisiveness.
And a commitment to building a culture of accountability.
She wasn't afraid to make difficult choices if she thought it would benefit the company in the long run.
And it seems like it paid off. The RSV vaccine is a great example of that.
Definitely. It wasn't just a scientific achievement. It was a result of this new way of working at GSK.
This more collaborative and agile approach.
Exactly.
And it got this life-saving vaccine out there quickly.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that this cultural change was happening at the same time as another big decision.
What's that?
The spin-off of the consumer healthcare business, Haleon, back in 2022.
Oh, right. That was huge. Why did they do that?
It let both companies focus on what they do best.
Okay.
GSK could concentrate on pharmaceuticals and vaccines. And Haleon could focus on building their consumer healthcare brands.
It was a bold move.
It was, but it seems like it worked out well for both companies.
So we've seen her reshape the company, lead through a global pandemic, make these huge changes in the industry.
She's been busy.
What's next for her and GSK?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but knowing her track record and the direction GSK is heading,
Yeah.
I think we can expect to see more investment in research and development, particularly in areas like oncology, immunology, infectious diseases.
They're going after some of the biggest challenges in healthcare.
Yeah, they're already making progress in these areas, and I think we'll see even more breakthroughs in the years to come.
It sounds like she's positioning GSK to be a real leader in medical innovation.
That's the goal.
And I imagine she'll keep pushing for a more collaborative approach to healthcare.
Absolutely. It's not just about developing new drugs. It's about making sure everyone can access them.
Right, making sure healthcare is a right, not a privilege. I think that's something Emma Walmsley really believes in.
She does.
She's driven by this desire to make a real difference in the world.
Yeah, to use science and innovation to improve people's lives.
And to do it in a way that's ethical and responsible.
That's her vision.
It's pretty inspiring.
It is.
So, on a more personal level, what can we learn from her story?
That's a great question.
What are some takeaways for our listeners?
I think one of the biggest lessons is that success doesn't always follow a straight path. It's okay to explore, to try different things.
Yeah.
Even things that don't seem directly related to your goals.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those experiences can be the most valuable.
How so?
Well, they give you different perspectives, skills that other people might not have.
So don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. Try new things. Challenge yourself.
And be open to new possibilities.
Yeah. Emma Walmsley's story shows how powerful that can be.
It's like she's always learning and growing.
She is, and that's something we can all do no matter where we are in our careers.
There's always something new to learn.
Always.
And sometimes those unexpected detours can lead to amazing things.
That's the beauty of it.
It's not about knowing exactly where you're going.
Right.
It's about being open to the journey.
And trusting that you'll end up where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Right.
But sometimes It's not about knowing exactly where you're going, you know?
Yeah.
It's about taking that first step and seeing what happens.
I think that's a great way to put it.
And Emma Walmsley's story is a perfect example of that.
It is.
She didn't set out to be the CEO of a pharmaceutical company.
Right.
She just followed what interested her, took on new challenges,
Yeah.
and wasn't afraid to, take some risks.
She was willing to step outside her comfort zone.
Exactly. And all those experiences, even the ones that seemed like detours at the time, led her to this place where she could make a real impact.
And what an impact.
It's pretty amazing.
It's inspiring.
It reminds all of us that we don't have to have everything figured out,
Yeah.
It's okay to be curious,
Definitely.
to try new things,
Explore.
and to embrace the unknown.
You never know what you might discover.
Maybe one of those unexpected turns will lead us to our own success.
Exactly.
That's what I love about these deep dives.
Me too.
They're not just about learning facts,
Right.
It's about seeing things from different angles, challenging what we think we know, and finding inspiration in these incredible people who are changing the world.
It's about sparking that curiosity,
Yeah.
igniting passion.
Getting people excited about what's possible.
Exactly. And showing them that they can make a difference too.
Well said. And I think that's a great place to wrap up this deep dive into the world of Emma Walmsley.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing yourselves.
You never know where your own deep dive might lead you.
That's right. Until next time,